All right, so let's get started with our first carbonate that we have on our mineral list. That's going to be calcite, calcium carbonate. So here I've got a bunch of different examples. One to show you the different forms that calcite can come in, but also to show you the variety in color that we get. So one thing that we'll notice when we're going through all of the carbonates is that they likely all have really similar lusters, streaks, and density. So those won't necessarily be the products or the diagnostic properties that we focus on when talking about these. So the luster for the majority of these is going to be a vitreous luster, so glassy, that you can kind of see really well in this sample. The streak, usually it's going to be white. We'll see a couple examples that don't fall in that category. And the density, it's moderately low density. So nothing like we've seen where we have the oxides that can have highly variable density. So another thing about the carbonate family is that we usually look for its reaction with HCl. So this is a bottle of dilute HCl, hydrochloric acid, and so we'll use this to test whether or not it reacts with the sample. That helps us diagnose which carbonate we're looking at. So we'll start off with calcite, probably the most common one on our list that we have here. We've got a bunch of different crystal forms that I'll start off with. So the crystal forms can be defined by cleavage, like this one here. This is calcite has perfect rhombohedral cleavage. So perfect three-direction cleavage that's not at 90 degrees. Unlike when we think back to something like halite that had that really nice cubic form, we can see that this has like a squished shape to it. So definitely not 90 degrees. This is a really beautiful sample, by the way. This kind of clarity, if we can look at this one here, they're almost identical in shape, right, from that rhombohedral cleavage, but this one doesn't have a lot of impurities or inclusions of something maybe like water or other impurities, maybe iron that would give color. So those are the differences here, but cleavage is one of the most diagnostic properties about calcite. Another one is going to be its reaction with HCl. So I'm not going to put it on this nice sample. Let's put it on a dingy one. This one here. HCl will react vigorously with calcite. So let's give it a go and see what we get. Very vigorous reaction. You can literally see the gas bubbles forming here. So this is really diagnostic for calcite specifically. A lot of other ones may not react as vigorously as we get further into the carbonate minerals. Another thing is going to be, we've talked about cleavage, the reaction with HCl. We also have crystal form to pay attention to. So this one right here has a scalenohedron crystal form. So right at the top here we have three faces that make a point. This one also has three faces that make a point. This is like the number one way that calcite likes to grow in a crystal form that's not defined by cleavage like this one. So that's another dead giveaway. We also have this guy here. Calcite can also come in more massive forms like this, and it's highly variable with color because we can fit a lot of impurities in here. So we can have something that's blue here, but even if we look up close, I can still see those lines of rhombohedral cleavage right there. And I won't put any acid on these because we want to preserve these nice crystal faces. But so you can still see here if you had something like fluorite where you were looking for cubic crystal forms and that octahedral cleavage, this could be a dead giveaway that maybe you're in calcite territory. Another thing I guess we have is the hardness. The hardness of this, it's moderately low hardness, so I think it falls at a 3. So we should be able to scratch it with a nail very easily, and sometimes with a penny as well. I'll go with this sample here. Give it a good scratch. Yeah, very easy to scratch it with a nail, as you can see there. And since a penny falls at about a 3 as well, it's sometimes variable whether or not we're going to be able to get a scratch on the penny or on the sample. So this sample's hard enough, just barely, to scratch the penny, but it also powderized. So it's really close. And let's see, we covered color, hardness, cleavage. The crystal system, I think, is the last thing we haven't touched on, and that's going to be hexagonal. The crystal system for the carbonates will vary widely, so we'll get into that a little bit later. But that is calcite, the first carbonate mineral on our list.